My day starts before the sun. The room is still dark. The air is cold and soft. I open my eyes slowly. I hear my husband breathe beside me. His breath is deep and heavy. He works every day with his hands, so he sleeps like a stone. I sit up quietly. I do not want to wake him. I touch his shoulder and feel the warmth from his skin. I whisper, "I will make breakfast." I walk to the kitchen. The floor is cold, but I like this moment. This small, quiet time feels like my own world. I wash rice, I cut vegetables, I boil soup. I cook slowly with care, because this food will go with him to work. It is my way to say, "I love you," even when I do not say the words out loud. As I cook, I think about him. His job is not easy. He lifts heavy things. He pushes, pulls, carries. His clothes always smell like sweat, dust, and metal, but his smile always feels gentle. Soon I hear footsteps. He walks into the kitchen with sleepy eyes. His hair is messy. His face looks tired but warm. He says, "Good morning." His voice is low and rough. I smile and say, "Morning, sit. The food is almost ready." He sits at the small table. He rubs his hands together slowly. His hands are big. His hands are strong. His hands have cuts and old scars. Those scars carry stories I know and stories I don't know. I put a bowl of soup in front of him. He holds the bowl with both hands. He closes his eyes for a second, like he is taking in the warmth. "It smells good," he says. "I hope it gives you strength," I answer. He eats quietly. He always eats quietly in the morning. I like watching him eat. Maybe it sounds strange, but watching someone you love eat food you made, it fills your heart in a soft way, like sunlight coming in from a small window. After breakfast, I pack his lunch. Rice, meat, vegetables, and a little fruit. I always add a note inside. Sometimes it is a simple heart. Sometimes it is, "Be safe." Sometimes it is, "Eat well." He never says anything about the notes, but he always smiles when he sees them. When he stands up to leave, the house suddenly feels smaller. It is like he carries the noise and warmth with him. And when he goes, only silence stays. He puts on his old work jacket. The jacket has stains that cannot be washed away. He ties his boots tightly. He checks the lunchbox I give him and holds it like it is something precious. Maybe it is. Maybe it is more than food. Before he walks out, he always does one thing, every morning, without fail. He touches my head gently and says, "Thank you." Just one word. But that word stays with me the whole day. It sits in my chest like a warm stone. I walk him to the door. He steps out into the grey morning light. The air outside smells like dust and old bricks. He waves once. He always waves only once. Then he walks away, tall and steady, like he carries the whole world on his back. I stand at the door until I cannot see him anymore. Only then do I close it. The kettle still whistles. The smell of rice still fills the house. Another simple morning. Another beginning. Another quiet promise between us. That week feels heavy. I notice small things first. He wakes later. He comes home later. He moves slower. One night he opens the door very late. The kitchen light is dim. He drops his bag on the floor. He takes off his jacket with tired hands. He tries to smile, but the smile is thin. It does not reach his eyes. I ask, "You are late." He says, "Work is long." I say, "Sit, I cook for you." He sits like a man who carries a long road. At dinner he eats. He eats with small bites. He eats quietly. He does not talk much. I watch him. I watch his hands. His hands shake a little when he holds the bowl. After he goes to work, I clean the table. I wash the plates. I put his lunchbox on the counter. I open it to check. Today, the lunchbox is almost empty. Only a little rice and 2 small pieces of meat remain. I feel a little surprise. I think, he must have been very hungry. But the next day the lunchbox is empty again. And the next day it is almost empty. Sometimes I find only fruit bones left. Sometimes only a napkin. I begin to worry. I cannot tell if something is wrong. He says he eats well. He says he drinks water and works hard. But his lunchbox tells a quiet story. One morning I ask, why your lunchbox is empty. He looks at me and smiles weakly. He says, I ate. His voice is short. He changes the subject slowly. He asks about the soup, about my day, about small things I did not tell him. The more he smiles, the less I believe his words. His smile hides too much. I try to trust him, but the worry stays. He comes home one night with a small bandage on his finger. He says, I cut it at work. I press a cloth to his hand. I clean the wound. He laughs softly and says, it is small. Small things add up. Late nights, small wounds, empty lunchboxes, a tired smile. I begin to watch him like I watch a plant in winter. I look for signs of life. I look for small changes. His eyes are softer. His back is more bent. His steps are slower. One morning I find a small note in his jacket pocket. It is not for me. I open it with careful hands. The note says, thanks for the food. A few simple words. No name. My heart jumps. Who wrote this? Why does he keep it? I hold the note like a small stone. That evening I ask him, who gave you this note? He looks at the floor. He says, a friend. He does not say more. I want to ask more. I want to know everything. But I do not push too hard. I wait and watch. The waiting is hard. The watching is loud in my head. I think many things. Maybe he does not like my food. Maybe he is sick. Maybe he worries about money. Maybe he drinks at work. My thoughts go fast and wild. At night I lie awake and listen to his breathing. I try to read his breath. I try to know what he hides. But the breath is calm. He sleeps like a man who gives all his strength away by day. The next morning I make his favorite soup. I stir slowly and think about the note. I put the soup in the lunchbox with care. I fold a small napkin inside with a tiny heart. When he leaves, I watch him go. He carries the lunchbox carefully. He kisses my forehead like always and says, thank you. I wave until he is gone. Then I stand at the door for a long time. I feel a small crack in my heart. It is not pain. It is a small space of worry and love. I do not know what will fill it. I only know I must see, one day, what he does with his lunch. One morning, I wake up with a strange feeling in my chest. It feels a little tight, like a small hand is pushing inside me. I do not know why. Maybe it is worry. Maybe it is fear. Maybe it is both. He leaves home early that day. He says, I have extra work. His voice sounds thin. His eyes look far away, like his mind is already at the construction site. After he leaves, I clean the kitchen. I wash the dishes. But my hands keep stopping. My mind keeps thinking about his untouched lunch, about his tired smile, about the weight he carries alone. Finally, I decide something. I decide to go to him. I want to bring him fresh soup. I want to see with my own eyes what is going on. Maybe I can understand him better if I see his day myself. I cook a small pot of warm soup. I put it in a thermos. I take my bag and leave the house. The air outside is bright but cold. The sky looks pale. The world feels quiet, like it is waiting for something. The construction site is far, but I walk slowly. I keep thinking about him, his tired steps, his heavy eyes, his full lunchbox. My heart keeps sinking with each thought. When I reach the site, I hear loud sounds. Metal hitting metal. Machines moving. Men shouting simple words to each other. The air smells like dust and hot iron. I stand by the gate for a moment. I hold the warm soup tight in my hands. My heart beats fast. I feel nervous, like I am about to open a door to a truth I am not ready to see. Then I walk inside. Slowly, carefully. I look for him. At first I do not see him. Workers move everywhere, lifting, pushing, bending. Their faces look tired and old, even if some of them are young. Then I spot him. He stands under a half-built wall. He is not eating. He is not resting. He is talking to a group of workers sitting on the ground. I walk closer, holding the thermos. As I get near, I stop. My eyes widen a little. I see something I did not expect. He is opening his lunchbox. My lunchbox, the one he always brings home almost full. But he is not eating it. He is handing the food to other workers. Piece by piece, rice, meat, vegetables. A young man with dusty hair smiles and says, "Thank you, brother. Your wife cooks very well." My breath catches. My heart jumps in my chest. My husband laughs softly and says, "You need it more. Eat. Be strong." I stand there frozen. He does not see me yet. I watch as two older workers share the food like it is a gift, like it is something special. One of them says, "He always shares, every day." Another man adds, "He says his wife has a warm heart. He says the food carries love." I feel something warm rise in my throat, but not like happiness. It is something deeper, a mix of shock and softness and pain and pride. Why did he hide this from me? Why did he pretend he ate everything? Why did he carry this secret alone? I take one small step forward. The ground crunches under my shoe. He turns. His eyes meet mine. He freezes. His smile disappears for a second. He looks like a boy caught doing something he thinks he should not do. I hold the thermos close to my chest. My voice is soft when I say, "So, this is why you do not eat your lunch." The workers become quiet. Only the machines keep making noise. My husband stares at me, unsure, like he is afraid of what I will say next. In that moment, my heart breaks a little, but it also opens wider than ever. I came to find a problem, but what I found was a truth I never expected. The moment he sees me, his whole body goes still. His hands stop moving. His breath stops for a second. He looks like a man standing in the middle of a storm with no place to hide. I walk toward him slowly. The workers watch us quietly. Their eyes are soft, almost careful, like they know this moment belongs to us. I stop in front of him. I hold the warm thermos with both hands. My voice comes out small and gentle. "I brought you soup." He looks down. He does not take the thermos. He only says very softly, "You did not have to come." I feel something sting in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Something more like hurt. Something more like being left outside a story I thought I was part of. "Why didn't you eat?" I ask. My voice shakes a little, I cannot help it. He finally meets my eyes. His eyes are tired, red around the edges, and full of something heavy. He says, "They need food. They have less than me." He gestures at the workers around us. Some sit with my lunchbox in their hands, not sure if they should keep eating. One older man stands up and says, "He shares every day, sister. He says your food helps us work. We are thankful." But I cannot look away from my husband. I only ask one more time, "Why didn't you tell me?" He closes his eyes. He breathes out slowly, like he has been holding his breath for days. "Because I didn't want you to worry," he says. "I didn't want you to cook more. You already do so much." His voice cracks a little. I have heard his voice strong, loud, firm, but I have never heard it crack like this. He continues, "Some of the men, they have families far away. Some send all their money home, some skip meals to save money. I cannot watch them work with empty stomachs, so I share mine." I feel my eyes start to burn. I feel heat rise to my face. I whisper, "So you come home tired, because you work all day, and you do not eat enough." He says nothing. He only looks down at his hands. His hands shake. His nails are dirty. His skin is cracked. They are the hands of a man who gives more than he keeps for himself. "Why didn't you let me help you?" I ask. My voice is not angry now. It is only soft. Soft enough to break. He lifts his head slowly. His voice is small when he says, "Because your food is precious to me. I didn't want you to think I didn't want it. I didn't want you to think I didn't love it. Or you." Those words hit me like warm rain. Sudden, gentle, deep. I step closer to him. I place my hand on his arm. He looks surprised, like he expected anger, maybe tears, but not this touch. I say, "You fool, you beautiful stubborn fool." His shoulders drop. He breathes out like he has been holding a weight for too long. I turn to the workers and smile a little. "Please eat. Really, eat." They nod. Some smile. Some look down, shy and grateful. Then I turn back to my husband. I lift the thermos and press it into his hands. "This soup is for you," I say. "For you, not for the whole world." He looks at the thermos like he is afraid it will break in his hands. Then he whispers, "I don't deserve you." I shake my head and whisper back, "Don't say that. Just let me take care of you too." The noise of the construction site fades behind us. For a moment, it feels like the whole world stops. Just him, just me, just the truth finally standing between us. And in that moment, my heart, the same heart that hurt a little, opens again, wider than before, because now I know the truth. He wasn't hiding something dark. He was hiding something kind. Too kind. So kind it almost broke him. And now, I know what I need to do next. That night, after we return home, the house feels different. Not bigger, not smaller, just softer, like a quiet light is sitting in the air between us. He washes his hands at the sink. The water runs dark from dust and dirt. He looks tired, still tired, but lighter too, like he finally put down something heavy he carried for too long. I stand at the kitchen counter. I clean the thermos. I clean the empty lunchbox. The metal feels cool and smooth in my hands. He walks to me slowly and says, "I am sorry. I should have told you." I shake my head. "You don't need to say sorry," I answer. "You only tried to be kind." He looks at me like he wants to say more, but the words stay quiet in his throat. So I place my hand on his. His fingers curl around mine gently, tired but warm. We stand like that for a long moment. No noise, no machines, no dust. Only us and the small sound of the kettle boiling. Later, when he goes to shower, I open the fridge. I pull out vegetables, meat, eggs, rice. Then I open the drawer and take out something new. A bigger lunchbox I bought months ago and forgot to use. I run my hand across the lid. It is wide, simple, strong, just like him. I place it on the counter, and I start cooking. I chop vegetables. I stir the soup. I fry the meat. The kitchen fills with warm smells: garlic, ginger, onions, hope. While I cook, I remember the workers' faces. Thin faces, tired faces. Faces that lit up when they saw food. Faces that looked at my husband with respect, not pity. And I remember his voice as he said, "They need it more." My heart feels like it is unfolding slowly. like a flower in sunlight. When he walks out from the shower, his hair wet, his steps slow, he sees the bigger lunchbox on the table. He stops. His eyes grow soft, almost shy. He says, "You don't have to do that." I smile. "I know." Then I add, "But I want to." He walks closer, touches the lunchbox, then looks at me. His voice is low when he asks, "There is more food now?" "Yes," I say, "for them and for you." He lowers his head. For a second, I think he will cry. But he doesn't. He only takes my hand gently and holds it like it is the safest thing he has ever touched. He whispers, "We do this together." I nod. Together. The next morning feels different too. Still simple, still quiet. Still the same small kitchen. But when I give him the bigger lunchbox, he holds it like a gift, like a promise. Before he leaves, he does the same thing he always does. He touches my head gently and says, "Thank you." But this time I feel it deeper, in my chest, in my throat, in every place his kindness has ever reached. I watch him walk away, strong and steady. But now I know something I didn't know before. He is strong not because he eats enough, not because he lifts heavy things, not because he works hard. He is strong because his heart is wide, wider than I ever knew. I stand at the door until he disappears around the corner. Then I whisper to the quiet morning, "I thought I made food for one man, but it reached many hearts, and his kindness reached mine." And the day begins again, simple, warm, full of quiet love.